There are people who weren't just names in the history books. They were the force that changed the world. From leaders who created nations to scientists who broke the boundaries of knowledge, today we bring you figures who changed the course of history forever. Today we will talk about the most prominent 5 people who changed history. 1. Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great, 356 BC, 323 BC, was one of the most famous military leaders in history and ruled the ancient kingdom of Macedonia. Born in Pella, the capital of Macedonia, he was the son of King Philip II and Queen Olympias. He was educated by the famous philosopher Aristotle, who trained him in philosophy, science, and the arts, which contributed to the formation of his leadership and intellectual personality. After the assassination of his father, Philip II, in 336 BC, Alexander ascended the throne at the age of 20. At the beginning of his reign, he faced internal challenges, including rebellions from some Greek cities, but he was able to put them down quickly. In 334 BC, he began his military campaigns by conquering the Persian Empire, which was considered the most powerful empire at the time. He won major victories in battles such as Battle of Issus, 333 BC, and Battle of Gogmila, 331 BC, which led to the fall of the Persian Empire. Alexander arrived in Egypt in 332 BC, where he founded the city of Alexandria, which became an important cultural and scientific center in the ancient world. He continued his advance eastwards until he reached India in 326 BC, but his soldiers refused to continue advancing, forcing him to return. During his reign, Alexander founded many cities that bore his name and contributed to the spread of Greek Hellenic culture in the areas he conquered, leading to what is known as the Hellenic period, which was characterized by the mixing of Greek and Eastern cultures. After his death in 323 BC in Babylon at the age of 32, his empire was divided among his military commanders, who established independent kingdoms such as the Ptolemies in Egypt and the Seleucids in Persia. Alexander the Great is considered one of the greatest military leaders in history because of his innovative military tactics and his ability to motivate his soldiers. He left a lasting impact on the ancient world by spreading Greek culture and establishing a vast empire. Alexander remains an intriguing figure in historical and military studies and is considered a symbol of ambition and leadership. 2. Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon Bonaparte, 1769 to 1821, is one of the most famous military and political leaders in history, leaving a huge legacy in Europe and the world. He was born on the 15th of August, 1769, in Ajaccio, on the island of Corsica, which had come under French control shortly before his birth. He joined the military school in France at an early age, where he excelled in maths and military science and graduated as an artillery officer. Napoleon stood out during the French Revolution, 1789 to 1799, for his exceptional military skills. He led successful campaigns in Italy, 1796 to 1797, and Egypt, 1798 to 1799, earning him widespread recognition. In 1799, he staged a coup d'etat known as the Coup d'etat of 18 Brumaire, and became first consul of France, making him the de facto ruler of the country. In 1804, he declared himself Emperor of France. During his reign, Napoleon carried out a series of internal reforms that still affect France today. The most notable of these reforms is the Code Napoleon, a unified legal system that became the basis for civil laws in many countries. He also improved the educational system, created the French central bank, and strengthened the infrastructure and economy. Napoleon fought a series of wars known as the Napoleonic Wars, 1803 to 1815, which involved most of Europe. He won major victories in battles such as Austerlitz, 1805, and Jena, it's 1806, expanding his influence in Europe. However, his campaign against Russia in 1812 was a turning point in his career, as the invasion ended in disaster due to Russian tactics and the harsh winter cold. As his power waned, European alliances formed against him, and Napoleon was eventually defeated. He was exiled to the island of Elba in 1814, but escaped and returned to power for a short period known as the 100 Days. He was finally defeated at the Battle of Waterloo, 1815, by British and Prussian forces led by the Duke of Wellington. He was then exiled to the island of St. Helena in the Atlantic Ocean, where he spent the last 6 years of his life and wrote his memoirs. He died on the 5th of May, 1821. The cause of death is believed to have been stomach cancer, although there are theories suggesting poisoning. Considered one of the greatest military leaders in history, Napoleon changed the nature of warfare with his use of innovative tactics. He left a political and legal legacy that remains influential in France and Europe. However, he is remembered as a controversial figure. On the one hand, he was a brilliant military leader and reformer, and on the other, he was accused of aggressive expansionism and imposing wars on Europe. Napoleon Bonaparte is still a historical figure that is studied and analyzed in military and political circles, and is considered a symbol of ambition, leadership, and strategy. 3. George Washington. George Washington, 1732 to 1799, is one of the most prominent figures in American and world history and is considered the father of the American nation for his crucial role in the American War of Independence and the founding of the United States. He was born on February 22, 1732, in Westmoreland County, Virginia, then a British colony. He grew up in a family of wealthy farmers and received a basic education, but did not attend university. Early in life, he worked as a surveyor, which gave him a deep knowledge of the geography of the region. Washington began his military career during the French and Indian War, 1754 to 1763, serving as an officer in the British Army. His military leadership stood out in battles such as Battle of Fort Necessity. Although he suffered some defeats, he became known for his courage and leadership, earning him widespread respect. In 1775, Washington was appointed Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army during the American War of Independence against Britain. He faced significant challenges, including lack of supplies and training, but managed to keep the army together. He won decisive victories in battles such as Battle of Trenton, 1776, and Battle of Yorktown, 1781, which led to the surrender of British forces. Washington successfully led the army until American independence was achieved in 1783. After the war, Washington returned to his private life as a farmer, but he was soon called upon to participate in the founding of the new nation. He presided over the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia in 1787, where he helped draft the United States Constitution. His role was pivotal in creating a system of government that balanced the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. In 1789, George Washington was unanimously elected as the first President of the United States. During his 2 terms, he established many traditions and policies that are still in place today, such as the formation of the cabinet and the creation of a stable financial system led by Alexander Hamilton. He also maintained neutrality in European conflicts. He refused to run for a 3rd term, setting a precedent for a president not to remain in power for long periods of time. Washington retired to his farm in Mount Vernon, Virginia, after his presidency ended. He died on the 14th of December, 1799, from a sore throat that developed into a serious infection. A symbol of leadership and integrity, George Washington is commemorated in numerous memorials, including the Washington Monument in the U.S. Capitol. George Washington is considered the father of the American nation for his pivotal role in the founding of the United States. He left a legacy of moral and political leadership, believing in the unity of the country and rejecting partisan divisions. He is remembered as one of the greatest leaders in history, not only for his military victories, but also for his humility and commitment to the principles of democracy. George Washington remains a pivotal figure in American history and is considered a symbol of wise leadership, integrity, and dedication to the nation.